With Bud, I think when it comes to Bud, I think a lot of people took credit away from a lot of his wins. Like, I feel like when they kept throwing it out there that he didn't fight nobody.
Well, he didn't.
I disagree with that.
Bro.
I disagree with that.
Why do people say that?
That logic is terrible.
No,
Anybody you get in the ring with is a chance
you
can lose.
He didn't fight nobody that was on that level. That's what we saying.
No,
Not he didn't fight.
That shit don't mean nothing.
You can get in a motherfucking ring with a C+ fighter, and if he clip you good enough, you can go to sleep.
No.
So he fought somebody.
No.
But come on, bro.
I think he fought people.
Julius Indongo.
We can't. You named the worst person on the resume.
Victor Postal.
That's a bad name.
That ain't a good. That ain't a.
During that time,
in order to say,
I'm saying during that time when he fought him,
he was overhyped.
He was overhyped. What? He
had Victor Postal is like this.
What's that
you know
dude
you talk to a boxer,
hard?
right?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
a boxer too.
Victor Postal's like this.
A lot of people couldn't deal with that. A lot of people can't deal with that style. A lot of people can't deal with that style.
Can't deal with that.
Come on,
a lot of people can't deal with that boxing style. He's jumping up in the air. He's a boxer, know how to use his range and his distance. A lot of people can't deal with that style.
But okay, in order for me, this how I look at it. In order for me to say, you know, you beat top tier, you got to say, okay, well, what did they do in the sport?
No, you can't, because let me tell you what the problem is. Now, this is where everything gets messed up. Hold up. This is where everything gets messed up. When after somebody fights Bud Crawford, fight is not the same. So you can't judge what they done after they fought Bud Crawford because he done messed them up.
Okay.
Mentally, physically.
Well, maybe you know more than me on that tip.
That's all I'm trying to tell you.
So you saying Errol Spence not gonna be the same in his next fight?
I'm not disrespecting Errol like that. I'm just saying, as far as in the past history, that I done seen.
Well, he just fought Bud though. He just fought Bud. You say anybody that fight Bud, they done.
You just said anybody that fight Bud.
They different.
Don't be backing down.
Hey, look.
You told me to ask you to real.
Gillie tells Shakur Stevenson to his face that previously Terrence Crawford's resume was, you know, a little iffy, and he hadn't really fought anybody. That's what I want to talk about in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing best in the business. Gillie and Wallow, $1 million worth of game. They just aired a new podcast. I didn't catch all of it, but I did catch this, and this is the part that caught my ear. Now, it got to a point in the podcast where Shakur was saying something. You guys heard it at the beginning. Shakur was saying something to the effect of a lot of people hate or badmouth Bud's resume, and I don't get it because they say he hasn't fought nobody. And Gillie the Kid says to his face, he hasn't. He hasn't. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Terrence Crawford was off to the side, like off camera, and actually there in the facility when this thing was being recorded. So shout out to Gillie for keeping it real and giving his opinion. And then from that point, Gillie and Shakur, they kind of go back and forth in a friendly debate, if you will. And Gillie said something to the effect of like, you could fight a C+ fighter and it's boxing. You know, one punch can change everything. If you get clipped the right way, then yeah, that can get you out of there. We're just saying that Terrence Crawford previously hadn't really fought like the big names, like people who are considered that dude in the sport at that level. To which Shakur Stevenson said, I think he fought people. And then Gillie's like, all right, Julius Indongo. And then Shakur Stevenson immediately responds to Indongo's name and said, we can't, you just named the worst person on the resume, which I got some things to say about that, but stay tuned to the end of this video and I'll give more of my thoughts. So they continue to go back and forth. He said Indongo. Shakur was like, oh, we can't really go there. Indongo, you named the worst person on the resume. And then he said, all right, what about Victor Postal? And then Shakur's like, oh, Postal, he got a style that could be tricky for people and this, that, and the third. And Gillie gets up and kind of demonstrates, and he's like, nah, he's like up and down Eastern European fighter. And Shakur insists that that style will give a lot of guys problems. Then Gillie said, like, hey, I judge people on what have they done in the sport. Shakur starts shaking his head like, no, I disagree with that. Here's the problem. Let me break it down. And then basically what he breaks down, he says that, hey, Bud fights you and you're never the same. Like he beats you mentally, physically, and takes everything, takes your soul, and guys are not the same. To which the podcast, Gillie and Wallow, they say, what about Errol Spence? He just lost to Bud. Are you going to say that Errol Spence will never be the same fighter or A-list fighter because he fought Bud. And then Shakur refused to state that. And he was like, nah, I'm just saying to this point, that's how it's been. Errol's my brother, so I'm not going to do him like that and suggest that he can't bounce back from it. So my thoughts, let's get it. We'll start from the last portion of what I just said. So it's weird that Shakur is going to say that basically Crawford is the Grim Reaper and he has the touch of death and he ruins guys to the point where their careers aren't the same to justify why some of the guys like Julius Ndongo never went on to win another title or look good. But my thing is that I think that's flawed and there's no reason to have me believe that some of these guys were really that good and Crawford is Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat and he just took everything away from them. Because even if we look at who they were at the time, Julius Ndongo, his best wins were Ricky Burns, a guy that Crawford had already beaten, and Troyanovsky, some random ranked Russian dude that he knocked out. So yeah, he lost afterwards a gang of times to other fighters, including Regis Prograis in his very next fight after Crawford, and he got knocked out. Same thing with Postal. He was losing to Shakur saying, hey, Postal give a lot of guys problems, but Gary Antoine Russell, young cat, had no problems and even became the first to stop him. Same thing with the Dominican dude that just fought him, Elvis Rodriguez. So we don't really know how good Postal was. And his claim to fame was beating Lucas Matisse, and Matisse had already got bashed up by Danny Garcia and dropped in that particular fight. So why is it that Matisse, and the funny thing is after Matisse fought Danny Garcia, his career, he never really looked the same. His next fight with John Molina Jr., they were dropping each other, and previously Matisse was a feared guy. So if you're gonna say Crawford has this touch of death power, then what about Danny Garcia? Danny Garcia, I really truly believe that Matisse particularly was not the same after he fought against Danny Garcia. It was a high profile fight on a Mayweather-Canelo undercard, and Matisse never looked the same in his fights after that. So that was Victor Postal's best win, was Matisse after Danny Garcia. And Matisse never looked the same. So it's like, what are we talking about? So only Crawford in the whole sport of boxing has this touch of death where he fights you and then guys are never the same, or were they never that elite to begin with? The other thing that I find ironic from what Shakur Stevenson said was Gillie said Ndongo, and he said, man, you just named the worst person on his resume. So that's the guy he fought to become undisputed the first time. So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You wanted to praise Crawford for being 2X undisputed, but Shakur Stevenson, who is friends and Crawford's almost like a big brother or mentor to him, he just said that Ndongo was like one of his worst names on his resume. So basically, you're inadvertently admitting that the resume is not the greatest, because the fight he fought to become undisputed was, against your own words, one of the worst names on his resume. And that's how he became 140-pound undisputed for the first time. So I don't think that does a good job of shutting down the talks that a lot of the guys prior to Errol Spence weren't the biggest of names and or world beater fighters. If the fight that he became undisputed for the very first time in his career, the fight he fought to become undisputed was against a guy that you believe is one of the worst names on Crawford's resume. So that doesn't really add up to me. So all in all, I think a lot of people make this harder than it need to be. When Crawford was with Top Rank, he didn't have the biggest names. He fought some solid guys, but they weren't the guys that were considered world beaters that were just moving the needle. So you can try to kick, scream, and argue for your homie and make it sound like Bud was previously fighting the greatest of names, but I just don't see it that way. And I know who these fighters were when he fought them. Mean Machine, he was coming off a loss to Ray Robinson. And the other thing I thought was kind of weird is Shakur didn't even know Matisse's name. So he's praising, on one hand, the Postal win, but then he didn't really remember Matisse's name. He was like, that hard punching guy, you know? And again, that hard punching guy, Matisse, had already lost to Danny Garcia. So I know the history. If y'all want, I could do an unpacked everybody just type unpack in the comment section, and we could really break down Bud's resume pre-Errol Spence. Yes, he gets credit for the Errol Spence performance, but it's still, you're not going to be able to hoist up his prior accomplishments and make them look greater than what they are. Again, some cool guys, some solid guys, but prior to Errol Spence, they just weren't names that stood out. So I agree with Gillie there. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm out.
Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks.
The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.